Hello and welcome to another YouTube Live here. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin, discussing the recent price action, but always starting from the bigger overall time frame, looking at the weekly and monthly charts. Now, we did drop a little bit to, I believe it was around $9,800 support, $9,900 support, and we're holding there right now. But I do want to discuss how this current level is a level of support that we've been looking at for a while. We've been talking about a potential drop to this level for at least 3-4 days now, at least. And we've seen it come into fruition, and we don't want to enter just right away. We don't want to just jump in without actually seeing the confirmation that there's bulls within the market. But this is shaping up to be a really, really nice pullback and a validation of that new nice level of support before we jump and push on to new highs is what I am looking for. So before we even think about moving up to the upside and making a new high, we have to really ensure that we're going to get buyers within the area. We need confirmation that there's bulls in the market. So first off, let's just talk about the monthly and discuss the key levels that we have here. So we are right at a mid-range zone. We have a demand zone like around 65-ish where we bounced off of, which was a confluence with the green support. So that's our key confluence zone. So we bounced off that. And then we have our first key zone on the monthly chart where we have the candle closures from the previous bull run of 2019 that ended and started all within that same year. And then also back in 2018, we also see that it was a candle closure for 2 months here. And then it was a candle closure back in 2017 as well. So we do notice that is a key zone on the chart that we do have to identify as a major area. Although looking at the previous price action here, we do see that the wicks did extend all the way up to around the 14K range, which was the candle closure on the monthly back in 2017 bull run. So that is the final major level of sensitivity that we need to pass in order for us to look bullish on the monthly chart. So once we're able to close above this zone, then we'll be looking really good for the bulls. But we do have this current resistance that we need to pass, which is around the 12K 11.5, so we are nearing that level right now. That doesn't mean that we could have a wick protrude up above the level of resistance and then come back down. So we will discuss how the price action is looking on the smaller time frames, but on the larger time frames, it's looking good. It's making a higher low, and we do have a couple levels of sensitivity, but even if we hit them, we do have a higher low that could form, creating a bit of an ascending triangle, which wouldn't be a bad thing either because it's a bullish pattern. It's really easy to spot. It's really easy to trade. You just wait for the break of the horizontal resistance and then trade accordingly. But overall, it does look pretty solid for an opportunity in the near future on the macro view. But now looking on the weekly, I'm just going to get a drink of coffee here. All right, so on the weekly, there is that pullback that we talked about. BLX is a little bit delayed. That's the chart that we were looking at on the monthly. The Coinbase exchange obviously is up to date. BLX is a little bit delayed. So we see that pullback here. Let's get our snip and discuss the pullback and this nice level of confluence we have for a strong level of support. So we have two zones. We have this first zone, which is a horizontal zone, and then we have the second zone, which is a descending zone. So let's talk about the horizontal zone first, which is this guy right here. We see it initially as a candle closure back in 2017. We see it as a nice level of support, support again, resistance, resistance, and then it slams down, and then we don't really see it hit until the spring of 2019. We see it as a very key level of both resistance. It turns into a very, very strong support that we've had back in 2019 within the descending triangle there, and then we reject off it. Very, very well respected back when we had that bullish push in late October. So we see it as a very strong zone within the chart horizontally, and then we're well above it at this point. We see the weekly candle closure above the zone. That's a significant shift in trend because the candle closures signify shifts in trend. If the price is able to close above a certain zone, that does indicate a lot of confidence and conviction from the bulls to keep the price above a certain zone. So that's what we see right here. And we do see the next weekly candle. It is closing red. It looks like after the weekend closes, this weekly candle, it says about a day and 6 hours left until this candle closure is occurring. So it does seem like this candle will close red, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It'll validate that it's a nice new level of support, and then we'll be looking for buy injections coming into the market before we look to long. But it is validating this zone as a nice new level of support. A lot of people are looking bearish because we had such a strong climb up to the upside. Yeah, we've had a great climb up to the upside, but this, in my opinion, is just a market breadth, and we're going to consolidate for a bit before our potential next move up to our next structural supply zone, which is going to be, in my opinion, from around 11.5 to 12K. So even with the pullback, I'm still looking for longs. I did get taken out of my longs on the alts that I was currently in, but that's not a problem. I managed my risk. I kept them small, and then once the price is able to stabilize and hold a nice level of support, and then we're able to find some level of a price action pattern that will be able to give us a good edge that will be squeezing the lower highs to the horizontal zone of support, and then we'll possibly be able to get a good entry from an entry to the lows here of the demand zone towards the possible highs of the supply zone. So I'm definitely not looking bearish yet. And on the 4 hour, we will be discussing what needs to happen in order for us to be looking at the market in a bearish way and for us to be looking actively for shorts. Because right now, we're still looking for longs, we're still looking for buys, we're still looking to see some price appreciation, even though we saw that little drop in price and we did take a couple losses on our alts that we were in. That's not a problem. Our risk management and our risk reward is very well taken care of, so we don't have to worry about major losses. We take small losses and we move on to the next trade. So that's what we're waiting for. We're just waiting for that next big solid trade to appear, and we don't really see it yet. A lot of the alts just took a nosedive, so we're hopefully going to see some potential lower lows and lower highs, forming a nice descending trend line connecting to lower highs, and then we'll have a really solid edge, finding a zone of confluence when that price does break that descending trend line. So for now, we're just being patient, seeing what the market does, seeing if it'll hold. But that's the overall outlook on the weekly chart. For me, in my opinion, looking like we're holding, or we're about to hold a nice level of support. That's a zone of confluence that we can depend on for a nice level of demand. It could reach all the way down to the $8,800 zone, but I do think that this level of support is looking like it will hold because we've seen it in such a strong level in the past, and we broke out of the key zone. Looking at the monthly, looking at the weekly, it's looking pretty solid. So the overall structure of the macro candlesticks and the price action does look strong. The only thing is we're not seeing a tremendous amount of buy volume coming in, so that could mean that we could have a little bit of consolidation for the buying accumulation to occur even more. So then the buyers are slowly accumulating more and more and holding the price, making higher lows. That would be a healthy trend as well. And then once we do see that shift in confidence breaking a key zone of resistance, it could be around the 12 or 11.5. It could be even the 14K. We don't exactly know, but it would be good to see a nice horizontal zone of resistance and then some buying accumulation, seeing the higher lows squeeze the price towards an apex of the pattern, and then we see a solid breakout. So I wouldn't mind seeing that either, but that is still a little ways away. So we're not really looking at the CME futures. We will see a pretty significant drop in price because we had a gap down from where we are at around almost 10.495 on the CME futures to where we are currently right now, which is around 98. So it would be dropping to, let's say 99, just to round it off. So we'd be dropping all the way to here. So that is the base. If we open where we are currently right now, that would be the open. So there would be a significant gap that needs to be filled towards the upside. And what do we need for gaps towards the upside? Well, where the momentum is upward, the trend is upward, we're going to fill the gap and go towards the momentum. So if the gap does come down towards this right here, towards the $99, $98, support, then we potentially will see the gap fill and then continue on towards the upside. So I'm not looking at the market in a bullish way. I'm seeing nice clear higher highs and higher lows, and we'll discuss on the 4 hour the market structure, because I think the 4 hour really illustrates well the market structure that we're currently in. But the Gemini exchange is also pretty good as well. But for the CME futures, I'm mainly looking at this just for the gaps within the market, and I do like to have a nice clean naked chart for that as well. So nothing really to see on the CME futures, obviously, because it's the weekend, and then on Monday, or at least on Sunday, when we do see the gap start to open and then the market start to open, we'll then come again and make another video and discuss the gap and see what we're able to identify. So now on to the Gemini exchange. So if you've been following the BTC analysis videos for a while, we drew our major demand zone in, and this is the daily chart still, but we can see it's a strong level in the chart, and we drew that in specifically because we think that there's going to be buyers within that area. Now, that doesn't mean that we have buy orders ready, entered right there without any sort of confirmation that there's actually going to be buyers here. We want to ensure that we have at least some level of buy injections coming into the market before we look to enter. We want to see the price at least hold at least one time, ideally two, and it'd be really great to see some lower highs here. If we were able to form like a descending trend line like we see kind of like here, that would be a really perfect ideal situation. We don't exactly know. We'll talk about it on the 4 hour, but overall we still are holding that low. So back in 2019, we broke this reverse head and shoulders right here, and then we made a higher high from the previous highs that could not break this resistance. We made a higher high, fresh high, which is good to see in the market structure, and then we held a higher low, previous zone of resistance, new level of support, as well as holding a higher low. Great to see. And then we made a series of higher highs and higher lows, forming a bullish market structure towards the upside, breaking resistances, holding supports, seeing more buy volume coming in than sell volume. Great to see at the start of 2020. And then what happened next is we broke a major structural descending zone, which we can see right here. The anchor point is at the all-time high, and then we had candle closures. This is the weekly chart as well. We saw candle closures at this exact zone at the previous level of resistance. We talked about it before, and then the descending zone formed another rejection at this point, creating a zone of confluence around the $96 to $100 area. And then going back to the daily chart, we see that zone as a nice new level of confluence for a level of support. So right now we are just above a nice level of support here. I'm still looking at the market in a bullish way. I want to be patient. I don't want to enter just randomly. I want to really make sure that I'm entering on the best possible opportunities. So I want to ensure that I have buyers within the market, keeping the price above this certain level. So ideally, I'd like to see a descending trend line that connects the lower highs, because I really feel comfortable with that, and that is my edge. And then I find a zone of confluence with horizontal level with that descending level. But we'll see how the price action comes out to at this very moment. I still think it's too early to be entering because we don't see a tremendous amount of buyers into the market. We do see a little bit of elevated RVOL, which is good to see, but I'm personally going to be staying patient, just looking at the daily and 4 hour chart. So now we can go on and talk about the 4 hour chart and really get nitty gritty with the details within the price action. So there is that nice drop that we had with our zone of confluence right there. And then we'll zoom out a little bit further. So what do we need to see in order to look for a long and short opportunity? Well, let's get our snip here and discuss what we could possibly see. So we got two zones here, two horizontal zones. We don't really need to actually draw them in, so I'm actually going to take them out and just talk about price action really simply. No real need for all that. So we got our major zone of demand. It's going to be right around here. What do we need in order for us to even think about a short? Because right now I'm still looking long. I'm long bias. I don't want to look for shorts because on the longer, bigger macro chart, we see that this is a key zone of resistance, and we broke it and we're pulling back, and we could make another move towards the upside. So looking at the bigger time frames, I don't want to be shorting, but let's say, okay, I am potentially looking to short. Where would I be wanting to short? Well, that would only be when we see the price break this major zone on the chart. We make a lower low than this current low, because right now I'm still looking at this low as a holding of a support. So we see this low right here, we see this low right here, and the price is now making another low. It could drop a little bit more, that's not a problem, but I'm still seeing the price hold this low, so I'm not looking to short at this very moment. This is the final level of support I'm wanting to see the price hold. If it goes below it, then I'm looking at the market in a different view. So this is that key level of support that I want to see the price hold. If it's able to hold above this zone, for me, it hasn't made a lower low. Yes, it's made a lower low from this point, and it theoretically could even make a lower low from this point. But this is the last level of support I'm looking at, because it's in confluence with our major descending zone as well as our horizontal zone. So I want to ensure that I am in the right bias until I'm proven wrong, and I want to be patient before I enter, and I don't want to just enter randomly. So that's the first thing I want to see, is the prices hold this zone. If we do see the price break the zone and make a lower low, like if it makes the same low here, if it makes even a lower low, then it's formed a lower low than the previous low, in my opinion, which is this structural low right here. So for me, that is when my eyes are going to be up looking for potential shorts. And then what I would ideally like to see is make a lower low, and then I want to see the price have a completion of the exhaustion phase. So this is the push phase, and then this is the exhaustion phase, and I want to enter on the exhaustion phase once I know that there's a confirmation that there's sellers within the market at the completion of the exhaustion of the retest. So what I basically want to enter, to keep it short, is a push down, a pullback validating this previous level of support as a new level of resistance. Once it's validated as a new level of resistance, then I'm going to potentially look for the short side, because we're now below our zone of confluence, which will possibly be a nice new level of support because it's a previous level of resistance. So that's the overall plan for a short. If it sticks above here, like I said before, I'm not looking to short or anything. I'm looking to actually long, but obviously we want to see price action confirmation. We want to see something appear before we look to enter. So I do see a high and a nice lower high. So if we make some nice lower highs here, then we could potentially see a nice descending trend line, and then we could get a nice potential long opportunity here, sort of like we saw here with a nice descending trend line connecting the lower highs, and then we saw a zone of confluence with the previous resistance turning into a new nice level of support. Try saying that 10 times. And then this was the apex of the pattern. We broke out. We had a nice little retest previous level of resistance, new level of support, and then we broke out, forming new higher highs and higher lows. So that is something that I'm looking for. A squeeze in price with a descending zone. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Ideally, it's starting to look like it's forming now. That's great. So I'm really going to be patient, waiting for something like this to appear. Kind of like, very similar structure actually. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. It'd be nice to see one or two more lower highs, like we saw a lower high here and a lower high here, and then you form a descending trend line, and then this previous level of resistance will be a nice new level of support. This previous level of resistance will be a nice new level of support, sort of like that, and then sort of like that, and then we get a squeeze in price, and then once the price makes a break towards the upside, breaking the resistance, because it is the less respected, less dependable zone on this one, especially because it's the support is such a demand zone, or such a key level of demand. There's a lot of buyers at this area, in my opinion, so the descending zone is less respected, so it's going to have a higher probability to move towards the upside. Once that occurs, then we can look to long. So that's the overall plan for my trade. If we don't really see that, if we see a massive spike down and then a massive spike up, and then we get a bit of a pullback and then a push, I don't really see an entry at that point. I'd like to see something like this appear. That would be a really ideal situation. And if we don't see something like that on BTC, we'll be looking for that on an alt. So that is the overall structure on the 4-hour chart. That really illustrates which way I want to go for BTC. The 1-hour chart, not so much. The 4-hour chart really gives, I think, a clear understanding and an illustration of how I'm looking at the markets and how I want to be acting when certain things come up. So just looking at the 4-hour, I'm not really going to be doing anything right now. I'm not going to be entering or exiting the market for BTC at this very moment, because I want to see more things happen before I take any action. Right now, yeah, I could be looking for a potential long here and coming back up here, but I don't exactly know. I don't have an edge in the market right now, so I'm just not going to enter. That's, you got to have a really good understanding of what you can do well, and then you stick within that range or that sector that you really know how to really have an edge in. So right now, I don't really have anything worth doing, so I'm just personally not going to be entering. Once I see a little bit more stuff happen, like we talked about in the previous video, then I'm able to act and have more edge in the market, have a better system than just, oh, it's holding as a nice level of support. I want to see confluence. I want to see 2 zones or 3 zones or 4 zones for confluences come together at once, not just market structure and support and resistance. I'd like to see a descending zone that really add in another level of validation for me to be able to use. So that's the overall outlook for the 4-hour chart for BTC. Also, for the individuals watching on the live stream, if you have a question about what we're doing, if you have a question about Performante as a whole, how we're able to help, if you don't know anything about it, Just drop a question and we'll be happy to answer you. I'm just going to have a drink of coffee and then we'll go to the tools that we use within the market to analyze the longs and shorts within the market of BTC. All right, so now we'll go to the BTC longs and shorts. This is going to be the tools that we use to analyze the longs and shorts, as well as another tool that we have in our arsenal. So let's just make it a little easier to see, kind of like that, I guess, before the jump. All right, so let's just take a picture of this, because I kind of only care about just what's kind of been happening recently, because it's been very, very volatile. Hello, Lewis. Welcome back again. Yeah, you come often. Thanks for joining in. So this is the long side. So these are the long positions that have been opened, this actual candle chart, and then we have the line chart, which is going to represent the shorts that were opened. So, and this is just the Bitfinex exchange. So this is going to basically give us the amount of longs that were opened and then the amount of shorts that were opened, giving us a good understanding of the longs and shorts within the market in a chart representation instead of just a day-to-day visual representation like we see within the other tool that we use, viewing different exchanges. This is just for Bitfinex, but it allows us to see a chart instead of a day-by-day number that we're able to kind of quickly look at, but it doesn't give us this nice chart that we're able to see. So looking at the longs and shorts, we do see we did hit that resistance yet again that we saw back in the mid-December of 2019, and then we are getting a little bit of rejection at this point. As expected, we had a very, very massive climb and then a consolidation point where we're making those lower highs and lower lows, and then we saw a major injection of buy volume coming in again, seeing a tremendous amount of volatility and seeing surges in buy volume coming into the market. This I absolutely love seeing in the market. It shows strength, it shows confidence, it shows conviction, it shows that the buyers are coming into the market and holding and driving the price up and wanting to be there, being a little bit greedy, really hitting the ask, pushing the price up. I really like seeing this in the BTC longs. And then for the shorts, we do see that there are more short sellers and exponentially more shorters coming into the market. We do see that the highs got broken. So this is high. This is not a higher high, so we're not seeing any really market shift. This is high, so we're seeing lower highs and lower lows. And then there was a shift in trend, and then the market broke and made newer highs, higher highs, and very higher highs compared to the previous highs that we saw. So it's making exponential highs. So there are more and more sellers coming into the market. We do have a resistance here, but we're kind of at an equilibrium at this point, because let's just zoom out a little bit. We are on a resistance point for the short sellers as well for the longs, where we see a high here as well as a previous resistance. We see it right here, a previous support turn into a new level of resistance. Very clear on the chart actually. So this is for the shorts. We see a very strong level at this zone right around here. We see a strong level of support back in the first half of 2019, where the shorts were held at a certain zone, and then it broke because this is when the bull run occurred in 2019, and then this is when all the short sellers just said, screw it, I can't hold on anymore. It was a pretty big short squeeze actually, because a lot of the short sellers thought that the price was going down below 3K to 2.5, 1K, whatever the case may be, and it just didn't. It just kept on going up, breaking 5K, the major 6K market broke without really any hesitation whatsoever, and it basically had two consolidations going from 3,200 to almost 14K in 6 months. So that was a major short squeeze, and that's what occurred right here, where a lot of the short sellers just said, screw it, I'm out of the game, I'm going to wait until a later point in time. And then we haven't seen the short sellers gain any confidence from that point. We've seen the short sellers get resisted here, rejected there, rejected there, rejected there. So there's a lot of hesitancy for the short sellers after this point here. I think that was a big shift in trend and a big shift in confidence for the short sellers, losing that conviction, losing that short side bias, and I think the buyers are definitely gaining a lot of confidence at this point in time, where we see a major influx of buyers pushing the price up, previous levels of resistance holding new levels of support, which is a complete opposite for the short side, where it's holding previous levels of support as new levels of resistance. So the tide is turning, it looks like, from the BTC longs and shorts, where the short sellers are losing confidence, the buyers are gaining confidence. You see a lot more volatility in the market for the buy side, and you see that the short sellers are getting squeezed, holding the price below a certain area. So looking at the overall market, looking at the longs and shorts, we do see that the bulls are gaining more confidence, they have more strength, they have more conviction, they have more overall they're winning more of the battle between the bulls and bears, it looks like, within this illustration. So that is the first tool that we're going to be using, and that is the overall analysis for that. Quickly looking at the questions here while I drink my coffee. Alright, so the question is, hey guys, question, would you consider a formation of the possible head and shoulders on the BTC on the 4-hour chart? So let's look at it right now. So I see two possible head and shoulders. We see a smaller time frame head and shoulders and then a larger time frame head and shoulders. Both are going to give me basically the similar sell signal. So the first one is going to be right here. This is the previous left shoulder, and then this is the head. And then what we need to see is the right shoulder come into play here. And then we have a nice zone of the neckline that we could break. So at this situation, the previous things that I noted on the 4-hour chart are exactly going to be playing out right now. What we need to do in order for us to even think about having a sell signal, because at this point in time, let's say if the price does do all this stuff, yes, you could possibly put a little feeler trade on the right shoulder, but I personally wouldn't really want to put an entry long above a key level of demand. I'd rather see the price break, making a new lower low before I actually enter my full position. So this is what I would do in the first option for the head and shoulders. I'd like to see the price break this structural low, this support here. So I'd need to make a lower low here or here, or somewhere where it's going to make a lower low. Then I'm looking to see the price pull back and validate that previous support that we had for the head and shoulders is going to be used as a new level of resistance. So there's going to be a key. Let's just make it a little bit bigger so we're able to identify it. So this is a key level of support. What we need to see is the price break. So at least come here, come back to this zone right here to form the head and shoulders, where we got the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. So we need to see the price come back here to around, I guess, a 10.1 range, and then hold it, come back down, and then we got our head and shoulders formation pattern. And then we need to see the confirmation of the break in trend. So we need to see a new lower low, and then we want to enter on the lower high that there's confirmation that there's sellers in the market. That's my first head and shoulders. So yeah, it could appear, but I'm not going to be entering anytime soon. I really want to see that confirmation that the market structure is there, the lower high, lower low formation is there, the breaking of supports, holding of resistances is there, the potential more bearish volume coming in, seeing volume distribution is there. You're seeing a potential lower low forming, and even that confluence zone there. There's a lot of things that we could be looking at, but at this point in time, we're not really going to be looking at a head and shoulders pattern. The second option for a head and shoulders pattern, which is a little bit bigger, we talked about this minor one right here, and then a little bit larger one that we're able to identify as well is going to be this zone right here, where we have the left shoulder at this zone right here, and then we're looking for a right shoulder here because this is the head. So we got a nice head and shoulders, and then this is the breakout zone. So that is also something that we could be looking at. Let's just take away this and this. So that's the also larger head and shoulders that we could be looking at, where we got a nice strong level of support at around $9,100. And then what do we need to see? Well, after this point here, we want to see a pullback validating this previous support as a nice new level of resistance. We may see a double top, we may see bearish engulfing candles, we may see pin bars, something that's going to indicate that there's sell pressure within the market. Once we see that there's sell pressure within the market, we look to enter to take the market short, and then this could be a first level take profit, and then we have the $7,800 zone as well. So overall, that's how I'm seeing the market. That is how I'm going to be looking at shorts if it does come, but I'm not going to be looking to short when we're seeing such clear higher highs and higher lows. I want to see this price action start to make lower highs and lower lows before we look to short, because then it's going to give me a higher probability of being right. So that is the same. Yeah, you have the same view. That's great to see. Yeah, it's not done yet. It's not ready to short yet, but that is the structure that I would need to see. Is it for it to actually enter me in a short here? This is really better than any paid groups. Yeah, so we do have a paid group, just letting you know, but this is just for BTC. We do an analysis for all the different alts. So quickly just looking at the different alts that we're doing. We do VET, RVN, NEO, Matic, AUNT, ADA, Stellar Lumens, Litecoin, Zcash, Atom, ETC, BNB, Dash, Link, EOS, Ethereum, TRX, XRP. We do every single one of those every single day. So we do analysis on those. We might not do a full in-depth analysis. We're covering from the weekly to the 1 hour every single day, but we're going to cover them every single day for the Performante Premium members. So this is just for BTC, and we cover it this in depth because we do think that the individuals navigating within the cryptocurrency market should have opinion from others. We're not saying ours is the right opinion, yours is the wrong opinion, or any other educator or whatever is the wrong opinion or anything like that. All we're saying is it's good to have different forms of opinions, especially when they've been in the market for years, and if you're just getting into it, it's good to have different sources of information and come to your own conclusion. We're not saying we have the single way to trade, and every other person who trades is not correct or not profitable. We're not saying that at all. But all we're saying is that we use a simple, easy to understand, efficient method that allows us to explain how we trade and navigate within the markets easily, and we do it. Not all for free, but a lot of our education is for free, and we try to give value for free, and also build a community that a lot of people really love and will stick around for, and will be able to really enjoy the next bull run, basically, that will come in the foreseeable future. So the last final tool that we're going to be using is this Coin Farm margin long short analysis, which will just basically give us a snapshot of the 1 hour and 24-hour view of the market. So we got our 24-hour right here. This will give us a 24-hour time frame view of the longs and shorts open, giving us a comparison from the confidence of buyers and sellers for 3 different exchanges: BitMEX, Binance, and Bybit. And then we're not really looking at the other two because there's not much volume. We like to see volume because that will move the market. So first off, let's look at the 24 hours on BitMEX. We do see that there are more short sellers coming into the market, 55% more short sellers compared to 44 or 45% more longers. And on Binance, also short sellers are taking control. 53.5% are short sellers on Binance, whereas there's only 46.5 on the long side or buy side. And on Bybit, same story, 54% of people that are short on the 24-hour market, and compared to the 45% of people that are long on Bybit. So on the 24-hour, all 3 exchanges that we're going to be looking at is a little bit more short-sided. Looking at the 1 hour, we can see that wow, BitMEX, a little bit surprising. On BitMEX, there is 60% of people that are long compared to only 40% of people that are short on BitMEX. On Binance, there is more shorts than longs. There is not much, 54% of people that are short, whereas only 46% of people that are long. And on Bybit, there is surprisingly just under 70% of people that are long on Bybit, and there's only 30% of people that are short on Bybit. So on the 1 hour time frame, looking at these shorter time frames, we see that BitMEX and Bybit have a lot of buy pressure within the market. There's a decent amount of confidence within the buyers on BitMEX and Bybit, because there's 60% of people that are thinking long on BitMEX, whereas only 40% on that same exchange. And even stronger on Bybit, there's almost 70% of people that think that the price is going to go long for the people that entered within that single hour that we've been looking at, where there's only 30% of people that are short. So looking at just the confidence there, there definitely is more confidence that there could be more buy pressure coming into the market, which does align with our larger views, because we do know that there is buy pressure here. We're looking for that price action confirmation. We're looking for that price structure to come in before we're looking to enter, but overall that is the outlook for the analysis for XRP, or sorry, not XRP, for BTC. There's not a whole lot more to discuss. I'm remaining patient. I think I'm going to stick on the sidelines for a little bit until the market structure gives me a little bit more of an indication of which way it's going. At this point in time, there's no real trades that I'm scouting for right now. We traded all up here. We were looking for longs, and I think at this point here, we're going to take a little bit of a break like we saw here. We did place a little bit of a hedge, which broke, which had the trade break even, so we didn't lose any money on the short that we opened here, but I think we will just wait it out and see the price give us a little bit more clear of an indication which way it's going before we're looking to enter. We don't want to be just like, entering willy-nilly. We want to really make sure that we are entering at the highest probability situations, and in order for us to do that, we have to wait until we know we have an edge in the market, sort of like we saw here where we have a descending zone, we have a squeeze, we have price really coming closer together, and that's where we're able to create an edge, give us a good risk reward, and for us to potentially see a nice explosion in volume towards our intended direction. So I'll leave the video at that, and I'll open up the chat to any questions that you have before this video closes. I will be doing a video similar to this within the alt market just for the premium members, so it'll be similar to this, except I'll be doing basically for 15 coins. It's like an hour and 15 to half an hour, or hour and a half-ish, depending on how many coins I go through. So if I don't really see any more questions within the chat, I'll just leave it at that. I'm really happy that you guys are enjoying it. I do this every day, like even weekends, I do it literally every single day. So stick tuned. I do post within the Discord when I'm going to be going live, like maybe 5-10-ish minutes beforehand. So I'm not really saying like at here or at everyone, so it's not pinging everyone, but I am trying to let everyone know. So if people do want to stop by ahead of time and drop in on the live while we're actually doing it and in the process of analyzing BTC, then obviously you guys can come ahead and watch the magic happen. So thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to cut it there. And until next time, happy trading. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. If you are grinding, that's great. I love the hustle. If you are spending a little bit of time with friends or family or something related to that, it's always good. Friends are important and family is very important. You only have one life, and you only get to see or have family once. And yeah, some people don't have family, so definitely feel lucky if you do, and if you don't, cherish the people around you that you care about. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.